alaikum, everybody. My name is Yaser Salamah. I am a senior, and this is day 3 of my honors project, Tolerated Muslim in America. So each day here of the week, it has a theme. Today's theme, Wednesday, is life and death, and I chose the steps of Waite Chapel because this is the heart of campus. Virtually everyone on campus would agree that this is the heart, and I feel there's not a much better place to talk about life and death than the school's heart. This first piece is called Hunted. I do want to put out a content warning for this piece. It deals a lot with death and with hate crimes and with trauma. If that is not something that you are able to hear right now, I totally understand. Please feel free to step away if you need to do so. This one is pretty dark. It's very heavy. So take that as you will and do what you need to do with that. At the end of the 2 pieces, I'll be doing 2 today, if you could come up and scan this QR code right here. It has resources directly related to what I'll be talking to you about today and ways you can get up and help, because these unfortunately are very, very real issues. And as a result of them being very real issues, they need our attention, and they need our attention as immediately as possible. So please go ahead and get started on those as soon as I'm done talking today. Without further ado, this is Hunted. I grew up in a post 9/11 America. I grew up knowing people would hate me and say it was because of how I chose to worship God. It scared me a little bit, but when I was young and little, I didn't know how much it should. When I was about 6 years old or so, my mother, a hijabi, was followed in her car for 20 minutes. When her pursuers caught up to her, they pulled up alongside her and they yelled, "Get out of our country! You don't belong here! Go back home!" My mother is white, a direct descendant of a passenger on the Mayflower, and was born and raised in California, not an hour's drive from where she was attacked. She didn't press charges. She didn't feel comfortable doing so. She didn't want to be seen as another Muslim causing problems for white Americans, her words. But it doesn't stop with name calling. Bang! 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 3 shots, 3 executions, 3 bodies. When I was in high school, 3 Muslims in Chapel Hill, North Carolina were murdered, executed by their right-wing white supremacist neighbor. They did nothing. They were wonderful, kind, and caring human beings. They were murdered because their killer hated that they were Muslim. A so-called crime 1.8 billion others are committing. The so-called crime I was and am committing. You know, I always would wonder, what's the difference between them and me? Well, I've never really had any enemies, you know, but neither did they. I've not committed any crime or done something someone would take revenge on me for. But neither did they. I am well liked and typically respected, but the thing is, so were they. And then it clicked. The thing that separated me from Dia, Yaser, and Razan. I was lucky. That's it. No fascist thought to blow my brains onto my carpet. My sister, she was at Chapel Hill in med school studying at the time. I was terrified for her. Not long after her car got broken into, it didn't help Donald Trump, an outspoken Islamophobe, had just been elected. Later, it turned out that that break-in looked like it was intentionally aimed at my hijabi sister. Imam al-Din of Queens, New York, shot and killed. A mosque set ablaze in Escondido, California. Shalia Abdus Salam's drowning in the Hudson, a stabbing in Simi Valley, an assault with a lead pipe in Salem, Oregon, a double homicide with a 3rd injured in Portland. The bombing of a masjid in Bloomington, Minnesota. Countless people attacked or killed for being mistaken for Arabs or Muslims, as though that's a justification. As though my life doesn't matter because of my skin or my faith. An entire Wikipedia page dedicated to sharing the data of violent crimes against Muslims in America since 2001. reading about the deaths of people like me, killed for no reason other than sharing my same faith, became more and more scary and more common. Who's to say I wasn't next? Who's to say I'm not next? New Zealand, March 15th, 2019. When the gunmen approached the mosque in Christchurch, do you know what happened? An elderly man greeted him at the door. He sees this man approaching with an assault rifle in tow, but he isn't afraid. He doesn't judge. He doesn't hesitate. He greets him, "Hello, brother." Because that's what Islam is. Islam is peace in the face of violence. Islam is love in the face of death. Islam is forgiveness in the wake of destruction. That gunman responded with a bullet, and that Muslim became the first to die that fateful day that did not end until 51 human beings, ranging in age from a mere 36 months to nearly 80 years of age, were slaughtered, decimated, massacred, murdered, killed, hunted. In the days following the attack, that's the word that kept circling in my brain. Hunted, hunted, hunted. My people were being hunted because of a dangerous rhetoric that had been present for decades, but then President Trump had made infinitely worse. Muslims were being hunted. My family was being hunted. My friends were being hunted. My sisters and brothers and siblings in Islam were being hunted. I was being hunted. We all had targets on our fronts, our backs, our heads. What's to stop someone from taking a shot? It is so painful to know that my life means so little to so many because of the way I pray. I become prey based on how I pray, and I pray no other becomes prey. Again, it is difficult to explain what being hunted feels like. But you know, I accept the possibility of death every time I go to Friday prayer. I have for years. Since I was 14, 15 years old, I think. You know, I told one of my Muslim friends here at the school this once. Said, I feel safer on this campus. Safer in our Muslim students' lounge than I did at a public masjid or mosque. He kind of nodded, but he was quiet. He seemed to disagree, so I asked him, I said, do you feel differently? And do you know what he said? I wrote it down. The night of our conversation, 4 days after that fateful day, he said, honestly, every time someone walks by that door, every time someone stops and looks inside, any time that happens, I have a little bit of doubt. With every shadow that passed by our lounge door, he feared for his life. His heart dropped as he feared that his death, our deaths, had arrived. 21 years old at the time, and fearing the threat of death, the threat of murder, every single day. And he's far from alone in that. That is what I mean when I say we feel hunted. The only solace I find, the one and only thing that carries me through this, ironically, is the very same thing my oppressors attempt to demonize, and that is my faith. You see, Islam, it has this beautiful teaching. It says that if someone dies for Islam, if someone dies in the name of Islam, they are blessed beyond measure. And it could be a war defending the faith. It could be dying in prayer. It could be dying while pursuing an education, or even during childbirth, or of stomach disease, of plague, of fire, of drowning. And you are blessed beyond what we can understand. People who die in this way, they will awake on Judgment Day with joy, knowing all their sins have been wiped clean. They will awake knowing that they are guaranteed the highest attainable level of heaven, one lit by the throne of God himself. They will have peace in their graves, untouched by punishments or by tests. awake adorned with the brightest of jewels, signaling the honorable life they live and death they have. Most amazing to me is they will be able to point to 70 of their loved ones on the day of judgment and guarantee them paradise, no questions asked too. To die a martyr, as these 51 victims in New Zealand did, as Dia, Yaser, and Razan did, is to guarantee yourself and your loved ones an eternity of glory, of bliss, of joy. Because that's what Islam is too. Islam is beauty and blessings and justice and peace. So while I come close to tears every single time I remember that fateful day, I also come close to tears knowing that all those people, they will be blessed beyond what any of us could ever possibly imagine. As for the Islamophobic white supremacists who took their lives, Islam has no place for violence. Whosoever kills a soul, it is as if he has killed all of mankind. He did so 51 times. I don't see a world where he doesn't suffer endless torment in hell. God's final justice is the only light I see at the end of this endless tunnel, but ya Allah, I pray there's another light sooner. Maybe one day, wild as it sounds, myself and the other 1.8 billion Muslims around the globe can actually feel as though the rest of the world cares about us. Insha'Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Thank you. The next one's a lot less heavy, I promise. The next one I call Bountiful Peace. The significance of that title will be, addressed throughout. Today's theme was life and death. We dealt with death. Let's talk about life. Bountiful peace. I want to see something. Please raise your hand if I am the first Muslim you have ever met. Cool. Please keep your hands up. Now, please raise your hand if this is the first time someone's talked to you about what Islam is. Not counting the news or school, but directly talk to you what Islam is. Everyone that had your hands up, please keep them up for just a couple more minutes. Thank you. And lastly, please raise your hand if, as far as you know, I am the first Muslim performer you have ever seen. Everyone look around for a second. It's about half of you. All right, everyone can put your hands down. Thank you. With numbers like these, Muslims, we are, especially in America, we are forced to represent our entire faith and our highly distinct cultures everywhere we go. When we do something, it's not just a reflection of our own character, but a reflection of 1.8 billion other people. And that's not fair. But it's the hand we were given. For some of us, it's the hand we chose. And 1 in 4 people in the world are Muslim. 1 in 4. But many Americans go their entire lives without ever meeting a single one of us. If not for me, that may have been true for some folks in this audience right now. That's wild to me. That is wild. What it shows, though, at least stateside, is that the Muslims people do meet can and do leave permanent impressions on everyone around us. And we got a whole lot of propaganda to reverse. From the news painting us as savages from the Middle East for decades, to all of us, regardless of our ethnicity, being painted as angry Arabs, to a presidential candidate saying that Islamic beliefs violate the US Constitution, thank you, Ben Carson, to a sitting president fighting tooth and nail to prevent us from even entering the country, thank you, Donnie. People don't like us here. They don't. And we know that. We do, but we stick around. We smile through the pain, we stand back up every time, and we kill their hatred with our kindness. Because we have to. And this isn't all we do, by any means, but it's what We all do. And we are forced into this position because the second we don't, our oppressors think we prove them right. The moment I stand up and yell, oh, cool echo, I get labeled that angry auto. The moment that I address America's failures, which I've been doing quite frequently recently, my identity gets labeled a threat. The moment I do anything that is not considered socially acceptable, the consequences don't just lie with me, but with some 2 billion people, with some 5 million Americans. We are forced to censor ourselves so frequently, especially in this country. We deserve the emotional range that a straight white man in America is granted, but it is withheld from us. And in response, many of us choose the loving route, the peaceful route. But this isn't us giving in to our oppressors. This is us doing precisely what we were taught to do. We follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a story many of us are taught, especially when these struggles become more apparent. It's about an old woman who hated the Prophet and hated his message. She would literally throw garbage and trash and waste on him every single day as he prayed. Until one day, she didn't. But the Prophet, he didn't walk away grateful. He didn't think, oh, thank God, she gained compassion. No. He grew concerned. Because she didn't abuse him that day. So he went to check on her. And she was sick. From that day forward, he took time out of his day to check on her, to help her, to feed her, and nurse her back to health. I couldn't imagine. I mean, if you were being literally abused like this every day, having people douse you in garbage and waste, wouldn't you be angry? Want them to stop? As a baseline, maybe become verbally or physically aggressive. I might, frankly. I'd be furious. I don't know exactly how I'd respond, but when it happened to the Prophet, he attended her sickbed. That is the example we strive for as Muslims. To bring love in the face of oppression. To be not harbingers of death and destruction like the media seems to want us to be, but bringers of peace and harmony. The most important thing in Islam is peace. So much to the point that we are told to greet one another, to grant peace upon one another when we meet each other. Assalamu alaikum. That's how I started this. Peace and blessings be upon you is the translation. Goodbye in Arabic is often translated as ma salama, literally with peace or go with peace. The root word for peace in Arabic is salama. Ma salama. Assalamu alaikum. Islam, Muslim. It's so ironic to me and some 2 billion other Muslims that we're always painted as these violent tyrants when we follow a faith that is literally rooted in peace. That we are practitioners of peace. That all of our greetings are rooted in peace. Look, I mean it when I say it can suck to have one voice be the only one someone associates with Islam. It really does. But if for any of you my voice is that one, please remember to associate the meaning of my name with my faith. Yaser, Salamah. Literally, bountiful peace. I'm blessed to have this name. And I truly think of all the names I could have had, that there's hardly one that better symbolizes precisely what being a Muslim is. So as I leave you here today, please leave knowing that I, Bountiful Peace, a practitioner of the religion of peace and a practicing person of peace, will greet you with peace and leave you with peace, because that is exactly what I am taught to do as a Muslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. so much. Right here